Let's talk to Ricardo Evangelista. He's from ActivTrades. Very good morning to you, Ricardo.
Good morning, Nick.
Right, let's talk trade sanctions. Mr. Trump is making a few headlines again. What's going on there?
Yes, so we've had so far regarding the trade, so-called trade wars, we've had the imposing of tariffs on aluminium and other metals imports as well. And the most recent chapter in this saga is the new development that came out yesterday regarding the automobile imports.
Yep.
So US officials are now looking into that subject and studying the possibility of imposing restrictions or even adding tariffs onto the existing ones for imports in cars, basically, and car parts as well. The results of this have been felt mainly this morning on Asian equities.
Yep.
So we saw that Japanese and other regional equities have suffered on what would otherwise have been a quiet day, because the publication of the minutes from the FOMC Fed's committee yesterday were quite mild, really. I mean, there was no, they were quite dovish, and to be honest.
Yep.
There was no indication that a fourth interest rate rise would be occurring this year, and that would have been a good impulse for Asian equities. However, with these trade war talks and instability, and you never know what's going to happen. One day, President Trump says, yes, it's great, we have laid out a good basis to establish an agreement with our Chinese partners. The next day he says, oh, actually, maybe it may not be so good. It just sends out a tweet and everything goes off in the rails again. So it's been hot and cold regarding this trade.
Right. In terms of crude oil, one-way traffic at the moment.
Yes, we've witnessed in the last couple of weeks great dynamics for crude and Brent as well. Brent actually almost reaching the $80 a barrel level. Crude just on 71, just above 71 at the moment. The rise has been altered recently because some stocks have actually been more, so there's been a sort of a stock taking for an inventory for oil, and it looks like it's actually better than what was expected, so that halted the rise of oil. But all the geopolitics surrounding this topic are there to support further rises. So we have the tension with Iran. So Iran delivers 4% of the world's oil per year, so further American sanctions on Iran will tighten the supply of oil. Also, we have the situation in Venezuela as well, which is also one of the major producers and members of the OPEC organization. We know that with President Maduro having won the election there again, it's likely that further American sanctions will be imposed, and therefore there will be further restrictions on oil exports from Venezuela. So, with the tightening of the supply, we could see further upside.
Turkish lira, interest rates.
Yes. The big story of the day, Turkish lira. Turkey, like other emerging economies as well, is suffering because they are on the wrong side of the current cycle.
Yep.
We can say so. The same could be said for Argentina as well, for Brazil, perhaps. The situation in Turkey is that President Erdogan is a populist. So he was elected on the populist agenda. So he's promising to give out benefits to keep the economy growth strong. The problem is that Turkey has quite a high trade deficit and is highly indebted as well. And all of this is accounted for in dollars.
Right.
So as we can see at this stage in economic cycle, the US is raising interest rates, the dollar is strengthening, and this is really bad news for Turkey. Inflation there is about 12% at the moment, and with an outlook to rise even further. So this obviously has driven investors away from Turkish lira, which will have a vicious cycle effect, and so inflation will rise even further. So today we saw that the Turkish central bank finally decided to raise interest rates at a substantial pace, 300 basis points, 3%. So interest rates now on 16%. And also there's been a clear statement from President Erdogan reaffirming his will to adhere to the international standard when it comes to monetary policy, business practice, etc. So it'll be interesting to see. When it happens, it halted the drop of the lira against the dollar, but this morning we saw already that the dollar has recovered some terrain against the Turkish currency. So not sure if that will be enough.
Understood. And finally, as a European, what are your thoughts on Italy at the moment?
Well, Italy, new Prime Minister, Conte, so he's backed up by a very odd coalition of, we could say, almost far right and far left.
Yep.
So the Lega North on the right and the Five Star Movement on the left, both have populist agendas. There's some outrageous promises out there, something like giving 800 euros a month to every unemployed person, also cutting corporate tax on the Lega North side. The cost for this is estimated to be around 70 to 80 billion euros a year. I'm not sure where they're going to get the money for it. So yes, may not be very good news for Europe and for the euro. So at the moment, the euro seems to have reacted well to the appointment of the Prime Minister. We'll probably see a period of respite from this tension. But I think in the medium to long term, it may be a storm brewing in there. Right. And it'll be interesting to follow and potentially witness some negative repercussions on the euro.
On that note, Ricardo, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Nick.